Welcome to Healthier, Happier Hour. I am Kiersten.
And I'm Carli. We're so excited that you're here joining us, and we are here to help you get healthy, connect in your relationships, and enjoy your life while you're doing it. So cheers to that. We're so pumped to have you joining us.
That's right. And it's good to be back, Carli. Cheers, girlie.
So good. And it's a legitimate happy hour tonight.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm pumped.
It's been a minute.
It has. Oh, we did a cheers.
Let's
drink to that. Let's drink to it.
Mm-hmm. What are you drinking, by the way? What are you cheersing me with over there?
I'm drinking Pinot Noir, and the glass says "You Rock" on it. Which, one of my clients actually made these for me. Sarah, shout out if you're listening. One says "You rock," and then the other one says "I know," because whenever I get my compliments out in workouts, I expect people to be like, "I know."
That's amazing. I love it.
I just love this glass, and I knew what you had planned to make. What are you drinking over there?
I got my margarita over here.
I love it.
Glass. This is not a margarita glass, though. It feels sacrilegious to be drinking a margarita in this glass because this is a Keeneland horse racing glass. This feels like it should have some kind of bourbon drink in it because horse racing, but I just like it. It's colorful. It's happy. It just makes me happy.
And you can get some margs in there, and it's delightful.
It's a nice tall glass. We can fit quite a lot in there.
Okay, I'm not sure about this, so I want to hear what people have to say about you drinking your margarita out of a straw.
Well,
I don't know.
Honestly, this is more for your listening sake than anything else. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's because it's on the rocks.
Right.
And that way, y'all don't have to hear the ice clinking around all of the time.
Nice.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. When we go to Mexican restaurants, that's not true. I drink it out of a straw at a Mexican restaurant because it's frozen.
Oh, yes. I get it on the rocks at a Mexican restaurant. I love margaritas too. If I would have had time, I am not going to lie. I was like, okay, come on, Kiersten, can you figure out a time to go get, I love when my dad squeezes the limes and makes it straight up by hand. Yes. That's the best.
100%.
But I found this organic, and now I'm not going to forget the brand, but it tastes like real stuff mixed.
Real stuff.
The bomb diggity. It tastes like the real deal, not chemical taste. Oh,
that's how you know it's good. It's real stuff. It's real stuff.
Well, my kids
it's organic stuff.
Right. And I'm like, I don't know the brand. I know what it looks like, and it's wonderful. But no, I did not find the time to go ahead and run to the store and get that. So I'm drinking red wine.
Red wine.
Red
Where's
wine.
Our song for tonight? You know what I was thinking? We need to start having an intro song. Just
we have
we're feeling. We do. Oh, but I mean, yeah, you're right. We just have our own. We just do our own song.
We just have to sing ourselves. Maybe we should wait to the end so people don't stop listening right out before we get to the good stuff.
That's true. Speaking of the good stuff, okay.
Let's talk about
do you want to know the good stuff that's coming before we get into your cheers or tears? Okay, I'm really pumped.
Sure.
So we're locked and loaded. I'm so excited because we're going to be answering and don't guess it yet, but we're going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions that we get as coaches, which is going to be so, so helpful. It is a broad umbrella term. It's going to help anybody, no matter where you are in your journey of life, no matter what goal you're working on, no matter what aspect of your life you are working on. It is going to be helpful to you. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. That's all I'm going to say about it. You got to stick around.
I'm nervous. I'm like, oh my goodness. It reminds me of when Ethan planned this scavenger hunt And I was like, he's totally proposing. He's totally proposing in my head. And then I started freaking out because I gave him sass when he gave me like the sweetest date. Like he gave me a scavenger hunt date earlier on, like to really woo me, you know? And I, this sassy woman that I am, was like, oh, those clues were so easy. And he goes, I wanted you to get them right.
Yes.
I know.
I wanted this to be a good thing, Kiersten. Hello.
Yeah. And so then I was like, he's going to propose. He's going to propose. And he had a clue. And I'm like, I don't know. And I started freaking out. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, what is the most common answer? I'm like starting to doubt myself or question. But
no, as soon as we get to it, you're going to be like, oh, heck yes. I knew this was the question. So get ready because it is going to be good stuff. But before we get to that, we need to do something that we do every single time, which is, and you're up this week, cheers or tears. What is your cheers or tears? And tell us just like 10 seconds or less, maybe 30, because 10 is really quick, but 30 seconds or less. Why do we do cheers or tears? Maybe for somebody who's joining us the first time. And then give us a rundown of
I'm going to try to do
what your cheers or tears is.
I'm trying to do it in 10 seconds. Cheers because it's fun to celebrate good things. And tears because we all go through it. We all do. Boom. Yes. I think I almost did that.
So good. You nailed it. Look at you. I'm so proud.
Thank you.
You rock.
Oh, I know. See? Look at it.
There it is. I love it. I love it.
Well, good listening too, by the way. Way to put that in there.
Thank you. Thank you. Just some shoulders off. Okay. Are you going to rebel per usual and do like a little snippet of each one? Or are you going to really lean hard left or right, like a cheers or tears? What are we going to get tonight?
I am leaning in the cheers. And I have two specific examples because at first I was like, what am I going to say? And then I had an idea and I'm like, if I was a coach, I'd be like, nope, Kiersten, not specific enough. So here I am. I have two examples of a cheers. The theme is lately, not saying that I haven't fallen down on this pursuit, but I have a couple specific examples of how I've made work, my day job and fitness inspired, work better for me by being creative. So making it a little healthier for where I'm at too as a leader. Yeah. And so you want to hear the specific examples?
I do. Yes, okay. I'm ready. I'm first of all so intrigued by this topic. Like I feel like there's a lot here and I want to ask a lot of questions, but before I do, keep going.
Okay. Good. So one specific example, everyone's going to laugh. You already know this about me, so you might not laugh as hard, but one is, yes, I was doing computer work for my day job. Okay, I had the little, don't freak out, you guys. I had the little, just in case one of our IT guys decided to jump on my computer and, hack into my computer and see the camera. They can do that, by the way. I had that little thing closed, but I was in the sauna working. I was like, woo, woo, woo. I am living the life. I'm like dripping, wiping the sweat off of myself. And I'm like, this is
got your camera taped over.
Yep, exactly. I have a little slider on my work computer. So just slide it right over, invisible. So that's one example. And so that's for my day job as a wellness consultant. And then for Fitness Inspired, I teach in the mornings. And I do have another instructor who teaches some mornings. And so because I feel like we've been burning the candle on both ends as a family, well, at least Ethan and I lately, I've been trying to give myself grace and not feel like I have to go when I'm not teaching.
Yeah.
And so, but there was a birthday and we always have some like really fun traditions at Fitness Inspire for birthdays. And so then it's like both of the couple does Fitness Inspired. So one of the couple texts me and I'm like always thankful, like always remember because I can't remember that one. And I'm so bad at keeping track of all the things. Right. And so I was like, I'm not teaching, but I really want to be there for this client to do stars for them, to celebrate all the birthday things. So I talked to my instructor and I said, listen, is it okay? Would it be disruptive if I came a little bit late? Because I really want to be there. And I don't usually like to do that, but I asked her, like, would it be okay if I came late? Sure enough, we made the whole plan and it actually worked out perfectly. And we came in, there was a good group of people, and we all did stars and celebrated her birthday. So it was so fun.
Yay! That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, both things. Like normally I feel like I have to like either not go at all or be there to the nines, right? Like,
yeah.
And so, I just compromised that a little bit with, with having like permission from, my instructor too, because I think that matters, her leadership. And so I was proud of myself. I was like,
you should be.
Good job, Kiersten.
You should be 100%. We need to cheers that right now.
Cheers.
Cheers that. Here are my little ice cubes. See, there you go. That's why we got the straw.
Love it.
That's a huge cheers. That's a huge cheers. And I love what you said. Like, it's so easy to just say, I've got to go 0 or 100. Like, we just skip the in between. Like, we think we can't do 50 or 75 or, 25. It's just either all or nothing. And so you've compromised and met in the middle and did what felt good and did what felt right and figured out a way to like navigate how to give yourself what you needed and still lean into what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you got to still show up for all the things. So that's huge. I love it.
It was amazing. Awesome. Yeah. And so I want us all to like keep on being creative and challenging ourselves. Like oftentimes we kind of restrict ourselves and no one else is doing that to us. We are like, I'm speaking, this is what I find myself doing. But if we can say like, how can we make this work healthier, happier in a creative way and start experimenting and trying things, it just makes it all so much more enjoyable. And I mean, I work in employee wellness, right? So all the stats are there that if we allow our employees to be healthier and happier on the job, they're going to give so much more productivity and stay with the company too. So the owners or the stakeholders are not losing anything by people being healthier and happier in their work. They are gaining exponentially.
Yes.
So,
oh my gosh, so true. So much good stuff there. And you're so right. And I'm just sitting here listening to you talk and thinking about how funny it is that every single time that we record an episode together, I'm like, man, we never talk about ahead of time. We've said this every show that we've done. We never talk ahead of time about what topic we're going to cover. Like one of us kind of leads the charge. And we don't share with the other person what we're going to do. We just kind of make it a fun little surprise, which is so cool and unique. And every single time it's just like, boop. It's just leads right into like where we're going.
Yay.
Every single time.
Drum roll.
So here we go. I know. Here we go. I love everything about what you just shared. And it's so, so relevant to what we're going to dig into today, which is, before I tell you, do you want to guess? Because I said earlier.
Way too much pressure. No, I'm sweating over here with pressure. I'm like freezing up.
Okay, just take a deep breath. Calm yourself.
Okay.
No pressure.
No, just tell me. Just tell me.
Okay.
I want to hear how it is. And then it's going to be like, yes. And then we'll have like 18 versions of the same question, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Most common struggle that people have in coaching, that you have coached, that I have coached, whether it is relationship related, physical health related, wellness related, exercise related, communication, career related, whatever space in your life, always, always, always like comes down to, how can I be
Better. Behavior change.
How can I be consistent?
Ooh, consistent. Yeah. In the behavior
change. In the behavior change.
Right.
How can I
We
be
want
consistent?
something
And
different.
that is,
Yeah.
that is like the struggle. That is the main pain point. I mean, that we have encountered, even thinking back to when you and I had like a meetup, right?
Yeah.
Back in Franklin.
Yeah.
Over in the fall, we were like getting together, we were working, we were just planning all this stuff, had all these ideas, and we were talking with a couple people. And one girl that we spoke with, we were like, what's your biggest struggle just in, life and things that you're going through right now? And she was like, oh, consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where in your life, what in your life you're trying to accomplish or do. If you're trying to change something, right? Like you're inevitably going to bump into things. You're going to come back and meet some resistance. And so people struggle anytime you're trying to change with just continuing to show up and continuing to build that muscle. And we talk all the time about like, how do we get our reps in? How important that is, right? To build that consistency, to get that muscle. And so, done some polls recently on Instagram and some different things. And that is the common theme and the common topic and question that's come up is consistency, consistency, consistency. Like, how can I build this as a strength in my life? Because we're human, right? Like we have life happens, emotions come up, situations out of our control come up. Sometimes we choose other things.
Yeah.
Right? Like we make different choices and we're inconsistent, but sometimes life throws things at us and that causes some inconsistency. So it's a variety of things and we have to like acknowledge and be aware of all that. So I would love to just like have some conversation today around how can we as coaches help people? What are some strategies, some tips, some things that you have helped your clients, people you've coached? What are some ways that you've helped them build consistency in their lives as they've been moving towards reaching a specific goal when they're working towards something, whether it's health related or not, right? When life keeps happening, when it feels like, and, I would say even in my life recently, I've experienced this. I'm like, man, it feels like life just keeps being like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I have felt like, oh my gosh, when is it going to slow down a little bit? Like when are things going to let up so that I can keep moving forward in the way that I want to, right?
Absolutely.
So I would love to just have some conversation and hear from you. Like, how do we move into that with, what kind of mindset do we need? What can we tell ourselves? What kind of actionable steps can we take? I just want to open up the conversation to you.
Oh my goodness. That is such an important topic. And I think what's crazy is people are like surprised that it's hard. I don't know. That's weird to say, but like, so I think one of the first things we need to just address and get through is that it's like, okay, let's expect resistance from ourselves, right? Expect it. And don't get like ticked off. Like I know I still do this, but it's like, how often do we get so ticked off by the resistance, whether it's internal, external resistance, right? And we either have tons of shame if it's like an internal thing, and then we're like, oh, and then we can't handle the shame. So we have to like put it on some other reasoning, right? Or we like blame someone close to us. We're like, you're doing this to me, right? And so we could avoid this, not saying that it's not going to take some practice, but we can avoid all of that crap at the very beginning of, hitting resistance and you're showing up muscle. Is like, we can avoid that by being like, okay, resistance is going to come. And instead of looking at that as like a bad thing, we look at that as a neutral thing or maybe even a good thing. Like if you can kind of get yourself, I think we've talked about this in the show before, but maybe not. But it's not great for your brain to try to trick yourself. Okay. We do want to develop these neural pathways in the way habit formation, and we can neuroplasticity, we can change the pathways, no problem. But lying to yourself is not the thing. I know there were some like self-help gurus a minute that they were like, oh, just say this. And lying to yourself is not going to
do it, man. Don't do it.
So if it feels like lying, don't do it. But I love a challenge. And I love like an obstacle course. And so if I can mindset wise be like, okay, here's what is important enough that I am going to have the resources to put towards this behavior change. And I want to be consistent with it. Okay. So first you have to make sure it's worth doing for you.
Say more.
Yeah. Like, okay, have you ever just signed up for 100 things and you're like, okay, there's no way I can do all these things.
Whoops.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Same. Or I have another friend who I am a yes, like, yes, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome person. And then I try to do all of it and something's got to give, right? So I let, maybe my sleep or something else or my stress level. That is what gives. But let's say you're the type of person like my friend who I'm thinking of, who she is like so good at really selecting what she says yes to. And that's for you too. That's for her too, is to still be selective because we want to be selective based on our values and our vision. And yeah, so be selective to your yeses. And that is a journey. All of this stuff is, for lack of a better word, is a journey, right? So like you get to a different place and you're going to have different pieces of feedback. You're going to be a different person. You're going to have different resistance. And it's just, wouldn't it be cool if we gave ourselves the gift of evaluating before we started, but then knowing that when you start, you're absolutely going to hit resistance. So whatever you can do to make that either neutral or positive, like how can I, get around that? Like another way that's really motivating for me is you look at any of the greats in any arena. And like the first person that popped into my head is Michael Jordan, right? And he got cut from like the 7th grade basketball team. And like, it's like, are you serious? Michael Jordan got cut from a basketball game? But what if, I just got the chills right there. What if the resistance of that happening to him, was the starting framework of what got him through all the hard stuff?
Yeah.
All the hard stuff.
Yeah. That's was the catalyst for everything else. He would have made it through the rest if he hadn't had that.
Even when he was a star in the NBA, he sometimes, because he's just such a fierce competitor and he just wants to get better and better and better, he at times, because everyone just agreed that he was great once he was a star in the NBA, right? Yeah. So we are all like, yeah, Michael Jordan is amazing. So there's a story about him that once he was already a star, he had to create that resistance because everyone's like, of course, you're Michael Jordan.
Right.
So he, in his head, like he admitted to this being, I guess, in his head, or there's like a conflict of stories here. So whether it was it seems like it was in his head that he made up someone talking crap to him. And that fueled him to like light it up and not let the other person score when he was already a star, Yeah. So he maybe was like, so it brought him to the next level.
That's so good.
Next time you hit resistance, how about let's just treat that as like, what if this was the catalyst?
Yeah.
That could like blow it all open for me and have some outcomes and some places in life and some relationships in life and some health that you can not even dream about right now. Boom. I have another like really important thing that I want to make sure I cover when it comes to this.
Please.
Okay.
Hit us up with it. Come on, drop your wisdom.
All right. So here's the deal. This kind of goes along with like not expecting there to be problems or obstacles or resistance. So there's something that's called either the J curve. In some arenas it's called the J curve. In some arenas it's called the dip. Seth Godin calls it the dip. And so here's what we think. Let's take working out, for example. So the story you told earlier, I was just laughing because I knew before you were going to say it that who you were talking about, the scenario, everything. And she did, like, we just made friends with her at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And we both kind of, after we got to know each other, of course, I was like, okay, so what, based on, what we've all just learned about each other, what are your like healthier, happier goals or challenges or whatever? And she said she wanted to consistently work out. Okay. So let's take that example because I get that all the time. So let's take her for example. So she wants to consistently work out. So first she needs to make sure that that's worth doing for her. If you ask me, I say, heck yes. But she might need to have lots of layers of reasons why she's going to stick with it before starting. And that could be helpful. So once she does that, then next she's going to be like, okay, resistance is going to come internally and externally because everyone, including myself, wants me to stay in homeostasis, stay in my comfort zone, stay where they're used to me being. Okay. Your schedule, your everything. So then she needs to like actually, do some strategy work with a coach would be helpful about what will probably be some of her resistance. Like, let's try to, hypothesize and predict. When I coach my kids on the soccer field, when they're kicking a goal kick, there's like certain lines because my kids are good enough. Oh yeah, my kids are awesome. And it has nothing to do with soccer, by the way. But there's something called a build out line. So they can't cross the build out line when they're goal kicks. But I say like, predict, where's that ball going to go? Where's that ball going to go? They know they can't be in these boundaries, but they're trying to guess where the ball is going to go. So they can already kind of predict that. So that's that. And then this is what I wanted to make sure I got to, because this is a phenomenon that happens whether we realize it or not. And so awareness can be so critical. So if we realize that it's going to happen, then we can be ready for when it does. And it's the dip. It's that J curve. So what we think is, all right, when she starts working out consistently, she's going to have all these results. Let's say she thinks she's going to feel better in her clothes. Let's say she thinks she's going to have more energy. Let's say she thinks, what else do you think she's going to think? If she starts moving her body.
Yeah, she's going to feel good. She's going to feel more confident. She's going to sleep better. She's probably going to start making healthier choices about what she's eating and putting into her body. Yeah. All kinds of things.
Yeah, she's going to feel sexier. She's going to, all the things, right? Okay, so in our brains, whether we realize it or not, we think that up and to the right, it's going to be a straight line of all those outcomes that Carli and I just mentioned, and that she's immediately going to start feeling it. But what actually happens? Let's say she gets like 4 days in a row and she doesn't feel any of those things yet. So there's actually a dip in outcomes before it starts coming back up. And when we know that there's a dip coming, like, that quote, like, winners never quit, that's BS. Winners don't quit at that dip. they don't quit. That's the time where you don't want to quit.
Yeah.
So you either want to assess it and say like, oh, not worth it in this season.
Right. Which would be okay in this season.
Which is totally fine. Yeah. Like you might say like, I want this behavior change. I thought I want it, but when I do more research, I'm like, oh, maybe that's not worth it to me for my why yet. Or like whatever your example is. Consistent workouts always is going to be important. So that's a hard example.
Yeah.
But we can start really small. Like I could start with a 10-minute walk or a 5-minute walk. And that's cool too. And that's like a good step. But so what you want to do is you want to have the resources, the support, the accountability, and the coaching to get through that dip. And then when you get on the other side of the dip, sure, there's other little dips, but there's that big dip that happens at the beginning. And you can kind of predict yourself, knowing yourself. Like I led us through a visualization before. Like if you didn't hear it, go back and listen to it. I think it was like episode 2, maybe, about visualizing when you really, it's hard for you to keep going. And we use the example of a 5K. And so you can probably predict based on you and the people around you what different things are going to contribute to your dip.
Yeah.
And so then you can build up some support. So to get you through the dip.
To get through the dip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. Man, so good. Wow.
So I just think like if we could do those few things, they're not easy.
No.
They're challenging, and do that with support and like give yourself the gift of support and coaching, and accountability, and taking the time. I'm saying this to myself, the time to evaluate ahead of time.
Yeah.
So like, what does this look like for me?
And what are you going to need to make it happen?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, and you answered all of them, but I was going to ask you, like, what are the things that we have to do? What are the things we have to tell ourselves? What are the things, that we need in order to keep going, when it feels impossible? And you just answered all of those, like, so beautifully, I think, in that example and in those steps that you just laid out so well. And again, like, I think what you just described, this hits home for every single goal, for every single thing that you're trying to create for yourself, where you're trying to make a part of your life healthier or happier. This applies. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's your physical health, you're trying to work out consistently. Doesn't matter if it's a relationship you're trying to improve some area of it. Doesn't matter if it's, work-life balance, if it's trying to communicate better with your kids and your parenting, or boundaries with, a friend or a family member, or another part of your wellness, whatever part of your life you're trying to create healthier and happier routines. Like, this is it. Like, this is what we need to do. So it was so good. Like, such gold. That was literally just gold. Like, I have nothing else to add to it.
So fun. And the thing is like, I'm going to put you on the spot in a second and see. It can be any example in your whole life. So you have that assurance. But I want people to remember and hear very clearly that we are not intended to do this alone. And like with our podcast, Healthier, Happier Hour, with our podcast, our goal is to inspire. Our goal is to, sometimes educate, have fun, start to be like positive voices in your life that yes, you can do this. And yes, you are worth the effort that it takes to have this behavior change. And so that's kind of part of our vision for the podcast. And then programming, signing up for courses, coaching with us, live workshops with us, that gives you the how. That's where you come alongside and it gives you the how. Because like, we'll see if this works out. So my question for you, Carli, is name any time in your life about any goal or pursuit or challenge that you were able, you don't have to tell us what it is, you were able to get through that dip. And then think about, I want to hear, a reason or two of why you think you were able to get through the dip.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, to get through the dip. So I'm not going to share what the specific events were, just for the sake of people and things and privacy
Sure.
involved.
You're like,
Mhm.
my mom listens, my sister-in-law listens.
Like, who
Well,
does this
thank you.
program?
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. We love that our family and friends listen.
Yeah, we
So
do.
we don't need
We
to
do.
hear the reason. We want to hear what helped
But
you get through
I would
it.
say in general, like there's two consistently in my life, like across any part of my life. Like I can go back and whatever instance or occasion it is, whether it's been like training for a half marathon, getting through career transitions, communication issues and different relationships, health issues that I've encountered, whatever it's been, the two things that have led to getting through those dips and like being consistent and moving forward towards like the ultimate goal for me personally has been two things. One has been like my faith, as you know, is very important to me. So having my faith and having like my relationship with God, like that's the number one. And the second is having a community of support and having people there, like having a strong, cohesive community that is there to walk alongside me and support me in that. And I think that's a key puzzle piece because it's people who know you, know your weaknesses, and know when you're going to falter and know what it is that you need when you don't know what you need. Like people who can see your blind spots when you cannot in real time. And I think that's like my favorite part of coaching people is being able to look at them, look at their life, know them, love them so dearly, and gently and lovingly and compassionately point out to them, like, this is where you're doing really great. This is a strength of yours. This is an area that I think we can grow in. And like, let's just gently move in that direction. And so, for the sake of like the people listening, like that's what we want to do for you. We want to like walk alongside you and be those forces that just like fiercely cheer you on and like just nudge you towards the finish line. Like whatever that finish line is for you, we just are going to be there like, yes, let's go. You're doing it, and like help you through the dip because everybody needs that. Everybody needs someone who's going to come up behind them, come up beside them, that's going to like lift them on. And, we don't always know what we need. So
Yeah.
we need somebody to do
Showing
that.
up. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So how can they get involved in our community so they get these invites?
Okay, so first of all, if you scroll to the bottom of our podcast, whether you're watching us on YouTube, you're listening, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to podcasts, you can find our link. You can find us on Instagram, but the link is healthierhappierhour.com. And you can go in there and you can put in your email address, put in your name. You'll get a fun little gift from us, which is a fun little 10-day reset challenge, which will help you just kind of jumpstart your whole healthier, happier life. But you will get exclusive invites to happy hours from us, to other fun events that we do, and you'll stay connected with us. You can email us. You'll get all the info. So definitely sign up for that so you can stay connected with us. And you can find at the bottom of our podcast description and also on our Instagram, which is Healthier, Happier Hour as well. So make sure that you find that and get connected to us that way.
That's awesome. Yes. I was going to say it's just in the description. While you're listening right now, you can put it and go right into the description. The URLs are all right there.
Yeah.
So definitely do that. And I don't know, ask me something related, I would say.
Well, I have a question for you.
Oh, yes. I want to know.
Yes.
Let's go.
Well, I've got 2 questions for you, but
Okay.
you might answer both because you tend to answer all of my questions that way.
Oh my gosh.
No,
I
it's a
know.
good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay.
Well, the first one is, tell us, you gave us a whole host of like, you broke down so beautifully, like I said before, how can we be consistent. So I do want to like highlight that super fast before we go in just a minute. Like, what are the key takeaways? But tell us maybe just one quick like action item. What's one sort of takeaway that you would give to somebody? Like if you had to give them a little nugget or takeaway, what would that be for somebody?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pick something like really tangible and really like you can see how easy that would be.
Do it.
Because I gave you like kind of defining the goal, all those things, right? Knowing that resistance is coming. And so for the actual show up muscle, what I would challenge you to do is do some version of this. It can be so simple. Like I've literally done with myself and clients Tallies, but make it your goal to get a certain amount of streak, depending on what the goal is, right? I would say challenge yourself to get 66 tallies. And there's some research behind that 66. It gets sticky. The habit gets sticky. So in the next like 2.5, 3 months, make that your goal to get 66 repetitions of whatever you want to be consistent in. And in order for you to give yourself a tally, there's different ways you can do this, but this is like such a simple one. You can just see the visual and it's so simple.
Yeah.
And in order to give yourself a tally, like it helps to do some of the other things we talked about because, you know, if someone has a goal of like, get healthier, we love that. We're happy you're here. And when are you going to give yourself a tally?
Yeah.
Get a little more specific, right?
Love that.
And I say that very lovingly. Sometimes I can get a little sassy. We've already discussed that.
That's okay.
So,
we love you for it. We love you.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. You got a lot of wine left. I do not have a lot of margarita left.
I know. I've only had like 2 sips because I've been running my mouth the whole time. But listen, you guys, you have some time before your hour is up.
Yes.
We did not take a full hour. So
we do that on purpose.
And I'm sure you were doing something else, maybe even moving your body when you were listening. So what we want you to do, what we'd love for you to do is take some action on what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And start with going to the description and making sure you get the next invite to our next happy hour. And hopefully I drink more than this.
That's right. Yeah. A little more.
Peace out, homies. We are cheering for you.
We are cheering for you. Always.